And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I am Chad Holmes, flying solo for a few minutes early on. Coming up in just a little bit, I will be joined by our former co-host, Jeff Gress. He's going to sit in for most of the show tonight, as my normal co-host, BJ Brandt, is up in Superior tonight. The Central Wisconsin Storm had a rescheduled game against Superior, and BJ has a couple of his daughters who play for the Storm. So he is down there, and he's providing me updates on what's going on in that game. In fact, they have played one period. They got off to an early start because you didn't want the team to play the normal time game because it's already a long enough trip, and you don't want to get home at 2 in the morning or something like that. Get back a little bit earlier, but it's been a good start for the Central Wisconsin Storm. They lead over Superior by a score of 2-0 at the end of one period of play. Madeline Kelter and Maisie DePoit had goals for the Storm. 11-7 edge in shots for the Storm and 7 saves for Cami Floor. So that is the update from Superior. The Storm, who we had last night right here on 98.9 WXCO in a 5-1 win over Black River Falls, trying to make it back-to-back wins in what is a very busy week for that team. They played last night. They played tonight. They have a road trip to St. Croix Valley on Friday and a road trip to Hudson on Saturday. We'll talk more about the Storm and girls hockey coming up here in just a few minutes. But coming up here on the program, our guests are both from the world of basketball. Since BJ is not here and Jeff Gress is here, I thought we will add a couple of guests for basketball for Jeff's sake. And at 6:30, we'll have our coach guest for this week, Mosinee boys basketball coach Matt Lindsay. And then our student athlete guest at 7:06 will be Marathon senior multi-sport standout Drew Wolfel. So that's coming up here during the program tonight. Let's start off talking about what's been going on in hockey. I'll get this out of the way for Jeff because he's a basketball guy. But this week was a very big week in high school hockey on the boys' side. Wisconsin Valley Conference, the game of the week, perhaps the game of the week, no matter what sport you're talking about, occurred on Monday night at the Marathon Park Ice Arena. Standing room only crowd as Stevens Point came to Wausau West in a makeup game from a game that was postponed about a week and a half ago due to that cold stretch. And Wausau West needed a win to move into a first-place tie in the WVC with Stevens Point, and that's exactly what they got in a game that we had right here Monday night on 98.9 WXCO. Wausau West defeated Stevens Point 4-2. Warriors had 4 different goal scorers in that game. It was tight for the first 2 periods, 0-0 after 1, 1-1 after 2, but then the Warriors scored back-to-back goals to lead 3-1. Stevens Point got one back after they pulled their goaltender late in the third, but then the Warriors added an empty netter to finish it off. 4-2 win for Wausau West. Not only did Wausau West outscore Stevens Point 3-1 in the third period, they dominated that period. It was a pretty even game in terms of shots on net for 2 periods, but then the Warriors finished the night with 41 shots on goal, 27 shots on net for Stevens Point. So Wausau West earns a massive win, their 11th game in a row. They are now 20-1 overall, 7-1 in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Stevens Point fell to 17-3 overall. The Panthers are now also 7-1 in the WVC. Each of those teams have 2 games remaining in conference, and both will have to win because in all likelihood their opponent will win both those games. So neither team can really afford to stub a toe coming down the stretch. But a huge win for Wausau West, snapping an 8-game losing streak against Stevens Point. And it might be just the second of 3 matchups this season. Of course, the playoffs are coming up. In fact, playoff seedings will be announced on Sunday. Always a big day. Find out what the seedings are for high school girls and boys hockey, and then perhaps see when Wausau West might play Stevens Point yet again, potentially either in a sectional semifinal or a sectional final. Also, in terms of Valley boys hockey in the past week, Stevens Point actually had still not a great week because they lost that game, but they had a good start to the week last Thursday. Spash defeated DC Evers 5-1. And then on Friday, they went down to University School in Milwaukee, faced off against a very good USM squad and won 6-1. The thing about both games, they had different scores. Against Everest, 5 goals and 5 different Panthers scored. 51-20 edge in shots in that game for Stevens Point, including 22-3 in the second period. Gabe Simonson had a goal for Everest, 46 saves for senior goaltender Griffin Bonnell as well for DCE. And then on Friday in that Stevens Point win over USM, 6 different goal scorers as well for the Panthers. 31 saves for Zach Burdick in that game as well. Wisconsin Rapids on Thursday night went to Marshfield, and Marshfield having a very solid year in Wisconsin Valley Conference hockey. Marshfield defeated Wisconsin Rapids 6-4. Wyatt Fisher had a hat trick, 2 goals for Braden Widman for Marshfield as well. Jack Potter had 2 goals for Wisconsin Rapids. And then on Friday, Marshfield kept up the momentum. They went to a Baraboo Portage and won 7-1, and they had a lot of offense in that game. Marshfield had a 62-21 edge in shots in that victory, and Wyatt Fisher had 2 more goals in that game as well. Saturday, a game that we had right here on 98.9 WXCO, non-conference affair. Wausau West beat New Richmond by a score of 7-1. Cooper DePoint and Xander DeBile each had 2 goals for Wausau West. And again, a significant win for the Warriors because New Richmond, also in the sectional bracket, helps in terms of the seeding process when the coaches get together and vote on Sunday. Mentioned on Monday that the Warriors defeated Stevens Point 4-2. Also on Monday, East Merrill United fell to Shawano Bondwell by a score of 6-3. It was a game that EMU took a 2-1 lead after one period. It was a 32-21 edge for the night in shots for EMU, but the only numbers that really count are at the end of the game, and that was 6-3 Shawano Bondwell. Also on Monday, another good win for Marshfield. Boy, what a week Marshfield had. 3 impressive wins. They went on the road to beat Antigo 6-1. Wyatt Fisher, perhaps one of the nominees for the player of the week in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, if they had one, had a second hat trick of the week. 8 goals in 3 games for Wyatt Fisher. And the thing that jumped out was the shot totals. 54-10 edge in shots for Marshfield in that game. So again, it was a big win for Marshfield in Antigo in that game. And then last night, East Merrill United made a long trek up north to Ashland, and the Blue Jacks defeated Ashland by a score of 5-4. Eric Grunenwald and Riker Remington had 2 goals each for EMU. And included in that was a Remington goal with 1:47 to go in regulation that snapped a 4-4 tie. And also last night, DC Everest in a non-conference game defeated Regis Altoona McDonald by a score of 6-0. Aiden Hopt and Cole Van Slyke each had 2 goals each for the Evergreens. Griffin Bonnell, he recorded the shutout in net with 23 saves. So let's look at the standings in the Wisconsin Valley Conference in hockey. You have Wausau West and Stevens Point tied at 7-1. As I said, Panthers 17-3 overall. Wausau West 20-1. DC Everest is in 3rd place in the league at 5-4. Everest is 11-8 overall. Marshfield is 4th at 3-5 in conference, 10-10 overall. Wisconsin Rapids is 1-6 in the conference, 6-13 overall, and EMU is 1-7 in the conference, 6-13 overall. Looking ahead at the schedule in the Wisconsin Valley Conference when it comes to hockey in the coming week. Tomorrow night, DC Everest is at Wausau West, a game that we are scheduled to have right here on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening face-off at 7 p.m. Also tomorrow night, Stevens Point will try to, as well, keep at least a share of first place in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Panthers will host Wisconsin Rapids, and Marshfield is at EMU. That game will be played up at the Smith Center in Merrill. Friday, EMU has a non-conference road trip at Northern Pines. Saturday, if you're looking for a really intriguing game, if you're a big fan of high school hockey, make the trek down to the KB Willett Arena in Stevens Point on Saturday because Stevens Point will host Madison Edgewood. Edgewood is the defending state champs. We had a chance to see Edgewood earlier in the season when Wausau West went down there to play Edgewood, and it was a very entertaining game. Wausau West handed Edgewood their first loss of the season, and they are an outstanding hockey team. Edgewood, in fact, is ranked number 4 in the state, behind number 2 Stevens Point and number 3 Wausau West. So number 2 Stevens Point against number 4 Madison Edgewood Saturday in a non-conference game. In case you're wondering, again, rankings uh, are for entertainment purposes only. The rankings came out. The voting came before the Wausau West Stevens Point game. So Tuesday, Wausau West at Rapids, Spash at Marshfield. Maybe Marshfield could be a thorn in the side of the Spash Panthers. EMU is at Tomahawk and Pacelli at DC Everest. Looking at the Great Northern Conference in high school hockey, as I see Jeff Grass has arrived, and I'm sure he's going to set up here and wait till before we get going on the basketball stuff. But in the Great Northern Conference, Thursday night, Bay Area Storm defeated Northern Pines in a non-conference game 6-1. Lakeland fell to Ashland 5-1. Waupun over Wapaka 4-1. Antigo beat Sean Obondoel 3-2 in overtime. Another interesting game for Antigo. They played a number of those this year. They were down 2-0 midway through the third. Antigo was also outshot for the game 36-22, but somehow scored twice late in the third and then scored in overtime to earn the W. Northern Pines on Friday beat Kingsford, Michigan 3-2. Saturday, Tomahawk over St. Mary Springs, a good non-conference win for Tomahawk 5-2. Ashland beat Rhinelander Saturday 7-1. Then last night it was Tomahawk over Northern Pines by a score of 6-3. Jonah Dickens and Jet Riley had 2 goals each for Tomahawk. 35-18 edge and shots for Tomahawk as well. That was a battle of the top 2 teams in the GNC. Mosinee got a hat trick from freshman Reed Butala and beat Wapaka last night 8-1. And Antigo, another overtime game for the Red Robins. They defeated Medford 6-5 in OT, and Lakeland beat Rhinelander by a score of 3-1. Some of the games going on in the GMC over the next week include Mosinee at home in a non-conference game against Thomas Sparta tomorrow. We have Antigo taking on the Northwest Icemen on Friday, Mosinee and Amory on Saturday. Those are 2 teams that have both been fairly recently to the state tournament in Division II. Amory, in fact, has been to the D2 state tournament the last couple of years, so a very good non-conference test for Mosinee on Saturday as well. And then looking at the girls' end of the ledger when it comes to hockey, the Central Wisconsin Storm, as I mentioned earlier, in action tonight. Let me check real quickly for the update from BJ Brandt up in Superior. 8:46 to go in the second period. Still a 2-0 lead for the Central Wisconsin Storm against Superior. That's a big game. That could be for the number 1 seed in the upcoming playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, the seeding meetings in hockey will be held on Sunday morning. Superior earlier this season beat the Storm at a tournament in Madison 4-3. So Storm need a W tonight. It would go a long way towards getting a number 1 seed, especially being played in Superior this evening. Storm has had a good week. We had them on Friday when they went on the road to Spooner and took on the Hayward Co-op, and the Storm beat Hayward 3-2. Another game against a team that was in the mix for a high seed in the sectional. I think it definitely puts the Storm over Hayward in terms of the seeding when it comes out on Sunday. Jaden Yurkovsky had 2 goals for the Central Wisconsin Storm in that game. Northern Pines beat Medford 7-3 on Friday as well. Then last night, last night, the Storm was in action as well as the Storm defeated Black River Falls 5-1. Madeline Kelter had a hat trick. Cami Floor 38 saves in that game for the Central Wisconsin Storm. So again, big wins for the Storm on Friday and Tuesday. And if they can make it 3 in a row tonight, close out to Superior, it would be a massive, massive help when the seedings do come out on Sunday. Other games coming up this week in girls hockey. You got Hayward against the Wisconsin Valley Union. Medford at Eau Claire Area Stars on Thursday. Storm have a couple of road trips again on Friday and Saturday. Storm at St. Croix Valley on Friday. Storm at Hudson on Saturday. And right now, the Storm, with that win last night against the Black River Falls Wildcats, the Storm kept their conference championship hopes alive as well. Because going into that game, the Storm were a game and a half behind Black River Falls. If Black River Falls would have won that game last night, they in all likelihood would have won the conference championship. So now you got Black River Falls at 6-1. They have one conference game remaining. Storm is 5-1. They have 2 conference games remaining. Wisconsin Valley Union 4-4. Northern Pines 2-4. Medford is 0-7. So that's a look at what is going on in hockey this week. We'll get more into it next week with BJ Brandt, as we'll have some seedings and some brackets to talk about, which is always fun this time of year. But are you ready to jump in here, Jeff Gress?
Trying to get on the Wi-Fi.
What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick timeout. I will help you get on the Wi-Fi. And, of course, coming up at 6:30, we'll have our first guest, the Mosinee head boys basketball coach, Matt Lindsay. And then at 7:06, Marathon Senior plays on the basketball team, also on the baseball team. Multi-sport standout, Drew Wolfel, comes up at 7:06. So that's still to come. We'll be back in 1 minute, as we continue on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app. And you can also see the show on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. I am Chad Holmes, and it's Old Home Week is coming back to help me out here because BJ Brandt had to go to that makeup hockey game tonight up in Superior. And I decided I'm not going to Superior tonight. It's too long in the middle of the week. And also I have the show. But very happy to welcome back across the way, Jeff Gress. Good to see you.
Appreciate you letting me back in here. I don't know. Sometimes you leave and you might be banned and never seen from again. But it's definitely feels like old. Feels like a good feeling.
You know, I was almost guilty to ask you because on Friday night, your boys had a tight one against Auburndale. And won the game 51-49. And I was watching the end of the game. And I'll explain to you why I wasn't there, number one. Well, you probably know why I wasn't there, right? Because they were there. So what's the point?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. True, yes.
I got to go to the place.
I didn't put that together, but that makes sense.
But after the game, you talked to the streamer, and your voice did not sound good.
It was so I've been having just quick overview. I've been having some troubles with it seems to go. I get laryngitis so fast and so bad. So something I think I will definitely be looking into. But yeah, it makes this a nuisance. I got to give our guys credit because I feel good about how they do things in the game because it's hard to give direction that way. And it makes me feel good about what we're able to accomplish in practice, that they can fight through some of the moments and we can talk about stuff and they're good about hearing it. I got leadership out on the floor. So it was a tight one, but yeah, a lot of people think it's due to just yelling a lot and it's just kind of naturally going. The more I talk too much is probably the end of it, but yeah, real proud of our guys that night and happy that we pulled that one out. Tough place to play. And to be honest, yeah. I'll throw this little tidbit. The Newman boys haven't won there in 10 years.
That sounds right.
In fact, I was on the sidelines the last time we did it. In fact, 2016.
Yeah, in fact, the year they won the state tournament, they lost at Auburndale.
Yes, that was one of the ones that kind of kept them on the top of the conference.
They were missing one of their studs. I forget.
Mason Prey was
out that night. Yep.
That was a long, but yeah, we talked about it on the bus ride back. But anyways, that's too much information on my voice.
That's still a big win. So again, and the thing about it was significant because as you look at it, you're still fighting for second place in the conference. We're going to talk to a Marathon young man coming up later on.
Yeah.
But as you've come back into it, it's been a different kind of year in the Marywood South, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is it's always funny, like coming back and trying to do this again. It's like, what's different? What's changed? I mean, we talked about it on the show so many years, how much the 3-point line has changed and the post players are a little different. And it's not that true guy sit down the post. Everything goes around the inside out. Now it's going out on the outside in. And that was one of the biggest differences I noticed was the amount of shots people shoot from the outside, as well as just different ways kids communicate. It's a different age. Their technology is more involved. They're really, really good at sending a text and sometimes struggle a little bit with personal one-on-one conversations. So it's just a little different, but all in all good. And, obviously a lot of fun and stuff changes, but yeah, it's been a fun to be on the sidelines. It's cool to see like some of the same traditions that these schools have, some of the same coaches on the sidelines, some of the same guys reffing. You just don't think that stuff stays the same, but it does. It gets caught in a little time warp.
How do you feel about your team right now?
I think the good things that we're doing, the effort is outstanding. We're getting better on the defensive side of the ball. We play really, really well at times within a game. We just always don't, if you see us lose by a couple or you watch the game and we haven't finished it out, we're not putting together enough of those good moments. We're having a couple letdowns. And, our players work really hard. We talk about it, check it out on film, and our players are working really, really hard to fight through those, whether it's a matter of how we're executing in the offense. Are we rotating the correct way on the help side defense? How's our shot selection? How are we sharing the basketball at that moment? And, you're going to have mistakes and kids are going to have up and downs in a game. It's just trying to understand for us that to make winning habitual, we have to eliminate some of those moments. And against different levels of teams, there's sometimes only so many moments that you can have. If we're playing a top team that hasn't lost a lot, that plays pretty consistently, or are we playing somebody a little bit more injured, a little bit more engaged as we are in the middle of the pack of that conference, again, there's less room for mistakes. So I'm happy overall with effort, defense. I still think I want to see us put together a complete game. Like even in the Auburndale game, we've got grit and resiliency, which I'm really happy about. That these guys just keep coming. But, just holding that lead for the whole time. We're up by 5, things like that. So
I see Ian going over there. I thought maybe our guest arrived, but apparently not yet. How good is Marathon?
They're good. Marathon, I've just
and again, it's hard to question. I know you're coaching now; it's very different here, and I know you're not going to come out and share any secrets, but they're 15-1 overall, and it'll be interesting to ask you a question. We'll ask Matt Lindsay too, because they're the only team that's beat Marathon when the coach gets here. Oh, he is here. So, but. And we're going to talk deeper into what's happened with the Marywood later in the show. But what do you think of Marathon so far?
They're tough. It's not like we're always looking for the challenge, but big around on the big in the inside, got good guard play. I think like for us when we play Marathon, they're tough to judge because who's going to put the ball in the basket? Where are those points going to come from? Like over at our place or over at their place, some of the guys that were hounding up on the stats and putting points up that way and collecting those stats, all of a sudden Peters eats us up, the big kid. Right. And then Bricewell goes off for a little while. So they're just such a tough guard, in my opinion, because who's going to show up to be that top leading scorer, and they balance it and they do their systems well and they're well coached and they play hard. That's why I got to give the guy across from me sitting here. He made him uncomfortable that night, and that doesn't happen too often. So you got to be proud of that moment. And I just think they've got a lot of good pieces. And as they go to their bench, there's not a drop off because a couple of guys off the bench or even their 3, 4, 5 guy, when they have their top 2 leading scorers that are showing up statistically, 3, 4, 5 guy could be the leading scorer on a given night. And I think that's what makes them dangerous and they're well-rounded on both sides of the basketball, offensively and defensively.
We're going to take a 1-minute break, and then we're going to introduce our first guest of the evening, Matt Lindsay, the head boys basketball coach at Mosinee. And one thing I got to tell Ian Welsh over there, and Ian is, of course, our engineer. He took my phone because we always take pictures of our guests. But I'm getting score updates from BJ Brandt tonight because that's why he's not here. So when he sends he sends an update, I want you to, at a proper moment, let me know what's going on there because
okay, I will do that
because it's a big game tonight. He's passing on that information, but we're going to talk to Matt Lindsay, the Mosinee coach. Drew Wolfel, the marathon senior, will be our student athlete guest coming up at 7:06 as well. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app and also on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. With Jeff Gress tonight, I am Chad Holmes. Again, BJ Brandt is off this week. He's up in Superior watching his daughters play for the Central Wisconsin Storm. He just had sent me a note before the phone went over to Ian, and it said it was 2-1 late in the second period that Superior got on the board. So, again, we'll keep you up to speed on that one, up in Superior tonight. But very happy to welcome back to the program the head boys basketball coach of Mosinee High School, Matt Lindsay. Coach, it's always wonderful to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys as well. Thanks for having me tonight.
Absolutely. It's always fun as well when you're having a terrific season and your team is having a great go of it in the Great Northern Conference. I wanted to start with your conference because I know last year it was tough against Rhinelander, but just a couple of weeks ago you went up there and earned the W. Before we even get into the depth of it, what did that say about this group of Mosinee boys basketball players that you went up into that very difficult gym against a Rhinelander team that's probably playing better basketball than they did a year ago and to win by double digits? That was a big W, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great win up there. Coach Lemons does a phenomenal job with his guys up there. They're always well coached, well prepared. They always play with a lot of spirit and just really play hard. For us to get up there and get a win means a lot. Our guys, I can't say do that all the time. We go up there and come out of there with a win. It's a tough place to play. They've enclosed that atmosphere where it's a much smaller gym where you're right on that court. I remember when I was at Wausau West, that gym was huge. And then they shrunk it, made it a much more intimate facility, which it's a whole lot of fun to play in. They just bring that different atmosphere. Their student section and their crowd is always into the game, which makes it a whole lot of fun to play there. But like you said, it's not always easy to get a win up there. And Coach Bruss always talked about, when he got his first win in Rhinelander, he was just as happy as could be because that was one of his last wins in conference to get on the road. And to be able to get that one up there again, we've done it a couple times, but it's pretty impressive because it's not a place you just walk into and know that you can come out there with a win.
Absolutely. Jeff?
Well, and what do you think the conference from last year to this year? I obviously I can't follow it like I did. I got the pleasure of watching you guys when I scouted marathon. That was one of the tapes we got to see. And it just looks like it's still this brand of physical everybody's going to come at each other. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of athleticism in all these teams. Is there a big difference that you see from one year? I know some teams are up and down, like they talk about Medford, but they're young, so it's just going to recycle.
Correct. lot of our teams they all have their systems, and those systems are really good, and they continue to battle with them and continue to improve every year. You bring up Coach Brown. I know his teams are well coached every year, and that's who we got coming up on Friday. And they just always are a tough team to play just because of how hard he gets them to play and how much they believe in him and in his system. And I would say that's a lot of our coaches in our conference. Second time go around there with Merrill was really tough for us as well last week, Friday. Again, got us to another overtime game, and we've been lucky enough to come out on top of both of those. We just got a lot of really great teams that seem to come out to play, and I think they get up a little bit more when they're playing Mosinee sometimes than maybe for others, but or maybe we're just a little loose with the ball at times. Maybe that's it too. But it's a whole lot of fun. Got a lot of respect for the coaches that are in our conference, and a lot of respect for the coaches that I continue to keep on our schedule each and every year.
What's it about those games against Merrill? You go back even a few years, they kind of threw a monkey wrench in your whole season a few years ago, and Merrill comes into the conference. You play a couple of OT games. Number one, obviously, it's a well coached team, and it's a great addition to your conference. And also, I would say that you have to be thrilled that in a pressure situation, both there and at home, your team was able to respond.
Yeah, especially up there. We had 3 guys with the flu when we were up there, so for them to respond, one of them actually hit a couple of threes in overtime with the flu in order to kind of help seal that one for us. But yeah, we talk all the time about handling adversity and how do you respond. We talk a lot about our mistake response and how we respond when a mistake happens. Because there's a lot of times guys will get upset even in practice, and they'll want to sub out. Like, no, let the next guy come in. And it's like, nope, you got to handle this adversity. You got to be able to figure out how to play when things aren't going right. And that's a big part of our culture that we try to get our guys to understand, is that the game of basketball is a game of mistakes. And it's about how you respond to those mistakes. And it usually comes down to the team that makes the fewest or the least amount of mistakes that's going to come out with the win. And so we really just kind of preach that all the time about how do we respond to mistakes as a team? Do we bring each other up? Do we bring each other down? And what we really want to do as a team. This year, I would say we're probably the most player-led that we've been in a long time. Got some terrific leadership going on this year, where they have the ability, where they even come to me with a lot of things of, what about this? Can we try this? And I'm like, if you believe it, let's go for it. And, we're getting a lot of things out of our guys because of that belief, that buy-in. But they believe in each other, and they understand the roles that they have within our team, and they just continue to go out and fight for each other every night.
And how about a couple of those players? I mean, I, again, watched against Marathon, haven't seen a lot of other games other than that, but I just thought the athleticism, the way they move, the extra pass here and there, the knowing where the guy's gonna, did he pick, did he pop, did he cut? I can read it and I'm tossed. I mean, obviously that comes through practice, through being well coached, but the team just looked like it was balanced. I was trying to think, if I'm going to scout where do you start? Because you got length, you got big guard play, you got big bodies in the middle, and that helps out on both ends of the floor. And I just think a very balanced team, which proves to why you're sitting atop that conference, and a good job, and they're well coached, and they knew the systems and ran through. And again, I really respect, as much as I respect your program, I also respect Marathon a lot.
100%.
And you went out there that night, and I thought they didn't feel comfortable, and that's got to be a credit to how hard those guys worked, the preparation you guys put in. But how about some of those guys that you have and get to work with week in and week out? Yeah,
well, we can start with a guy who just signed his letter of intent to go to the Badgers for football this year with Treve Stoffel. There's not many guys at 6'4" that will jump in and just be a point guard instead of wanting to be, somebody that just plays down in the post. And he's done that since he was a freshman. He was willing to jump out there, grab that ball, and, bring the ball up the court and be our floor general. He's just done an amazing job at bringing guys along. He's really, gets to them to play harder. He discusses things. He talks to them about different things that he's seeing on the floor, because he throws some passes sometimes that you don't know how it's going to get there, but it gets there. And the guys just got to understand that it's coming, and you always got to have that head on a swivel, especially when he's got the ball in his hands. And one of those guys that's gets that ball a lot is Braden Ranke. As a junior here, he's approaching his 1,000 point mark, just like Treve Stoffel is. Both have the opportunity to hit that 1,000 point mark this year. which would be number 5 and 6 in our program in program history ever to reach that milestone. They just play really well together. They feed off of each other. Another really good senior leader is Carson Valgord. He extends the floor a little bit for us, increases that spacing with his ability to knock down threes. And then, Bryson Swikes, just an all-out defensive machine, just plays hard, wants the hardest player to guard every night, and just goes out there. He leads us in taking charges. He's willing to put his body on the line, also step back, knock down a three, and try to get to the rim. Just great guys that way. Mitch Micklig, last night we put him on number 23, Kyler Marks, averaging 25 points a game. He holds them to 7. Against Northland Pines, their best was averaging 22 at that point. He held them to 5. He just buys into his role, does it really well. What's great about him is he can guard a guard, he can guard a post, and he just buys in and plays really hard. I can continue to go on. We got a lot of great seniors this year, which is part of the reason for a lot of our success this year is, they're an 18 and 16 that is basically the same team we had last year, coming back and really working hard this year, and really doing some great things for us, understanding our system, like you said, which is just playing basketball. Let's play versus run plays.
When you talk about, you mentioned, filling the roles, so much of success is about having all the pieces, because if you're missing one of those puzzle pieces, other coaches will find it. Yep. Does it feel as though the pieces are really good for this group, that it does fill the entire puzzle for success?
Yeah. I think we got a lot of great pieces to that puzzle. You bring, 6, 7, 8 off the bench. You don't know who might be our leading scorer on a given night. If they try to take away, say, Treve, we've had Sebastian Anderson go off for 23 points in a night just because coming off the bench, because they're taking Treve away hard and he's getting in there and he's scoring a lot. Braden will do the same thing. Carson as well. Bryson, he gets quiet points. It always seems like it's just, he just keeps working and he gets points and they just continue to add up. Last night, he hit a couple big threes for us in that second half. But yeah, it's just, you never know who might for us just be our leading scorer. A lot of times people think it's going to be Ranky and it's going to be Stoffel, but it can really be any of our guys. It just depends on any given day of just how that's going. For Mitch, being at his height, he just has this awesome touch around the rim. And when he's posting up, being that crafty little lefty down there, he just has a great vertical. He uses his body well to shield and protect the basketball, and he goes up and scores when he needs to.
So you're in, we're down at the Optimist this weekend running some of those gyms and talking to some of the youth coaches that I know, and from Mosinee too, because they were playing here and there, and they're saying, yeah, we love the high school program, like what's being done. Coach Lindsay does a great job, and you see it in your records, and you see it when other teams are coming to play against you, and you see it with the success you've had. That's not usually instantaneous. What do you credit that's consistent and continuous year in and year out, where you guys are up at the battling for that top of the conference? You're getting the most out of your players. It's evident when I watch one game, and it's evident how hard those kids are playing and how bad they want to win. Well, anything that, not giving away secrets, but anything that's consistent for your program that you think leads to that success year in and year out?
One of the first things when I took over the program was consistency from top to bottom in what we're doing. Spent a lot of time with our youth coaches, and still do, and going into their practices, watching their practices, having conversations with what we want to run, and understanding that it will come with time, but we need to start building those characteristics now, so that way they can start seeing the game in a different light. So we spend a lot of time with that, from our youth all the way up to our high school players, because I want to be able to, if we have an all-star freshman, I want them to be able to fit seamlessly into our system when they walk in, versus they're really good, but now they're hesitant because they're being put into a varsity game. They don't have that experience yet. It's a brand new system, but if they already know the basics of the system, we can add the complexity over time, because really the best complexity is just running simple things, but stacking them on top of each other. And that's what we continually do, is just try to stack simple ideas on top of each other and just layer our system as we continue to go. But yeah, our youth coaches are amazing. I spend a lot of time with them, love having conversations with them. We've also gotten very lucky with some former head coaches as well, being our youth coaches. That really helps out. When you have that vision and you see the game in that type of manner, it really helps us to be able to develop a lot of really good players.
Again, we're talking to Matt Lindsay, the head basketball coach on the boys' side for Mosinee High School, here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. How many years is this now for you as the head coach?
This is my 5th year.
Okay. Have you changed at all in these 5 years? You've had a lot of experience coaching basketball before you got the head coaching job, but moving into this position, and there's, I think, expectations at Mosinee because you have a very good program. You took over a good program. You've had continued success. Is there anything that's changed about you, whether in terms of the way that you run things, in terms of what you look for in terms of your offense and defense, or just generally? I mean, is there anything, how have you changed as a coach over these 5 years?
Yeah, great question. I would say the biggest thing for me from when I first started coaching, quite a while ago at Wausau West till now, is definitely more. We talk about the why we're doing the things that we're doing and why we do them this way versus other ways, because there's a lot of ways to do the same things. Like before I was the head coach, we ran pack line defense. I didn't like pushing the ball to the middle because that's where the hoop is. I'd rather keep that ball away from the rim as much as possible and apply pressure continuously throughout. So just changing some of those ideas and the way that we kind of think about things is what it really came down to. But it's also challenged me to think in other ways as well of, is this what's right for us versus, when you're kind of that assistant and you're taking over, you got all these ideas, but ultimately, when you're the assistant, it's not your job to make that final decision. And now weighing all the options and really looking at it from that, 30,000 foot view of what is it that we really need to do and what's going to be best for us long term. I think that's been one of the big things that's changed for me. Also, I talk to our guys a lot about what is their legacy going to be. A lot of teams talk about traditions, but most people don't know why those traditions exist. So we talk about a legacy. What do we want everybody else to look up to and really be able to showcase coming forward? What do they want to try to leave their legacy as? And with that, that's really had me reflect on myself as a coach and really calm down and just understand that there are ebbs and flows to every game. You don't need to argue everything. You don't need to get high. You don't need to get low. Just stay steady, because the players feed off of that energy that you bring. And I would say that the positive energy that I bring has gone way up from when I first took over till now, is just continuing to get these guys to understand positive energy, bring that energy, feed off that energy. And we talk a lot more about each individual person, what their specific role is, and getting them to buy into that. Because without that role identity, there constantly are questions of, well, why was I subbed out? Why am I not getting the minutes? So we just kind of take those away and just have a lot of open and honest communication with our players.
Is it ever, if anybody that's ever done the head coaching job or watched high school basketball a lot to watch it, there's a lot of things that can get thrown at you, blindsided, on top of all the other normal things. And I know in a conversation I had, and I don't know how many of your coaches, you had a little bit of just some coaching switches on the sidelines with you. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, because that's a change. Sometimes you got the right-hand guy that's been with you for 3 out of the 5 years, and then all of a sudden we got 2 new guys, and then sometimes you have everybody around you that, I'll help you when you need somebody, and then they're nowhere to be found when you need somebody. It's also hard to keep people there because this is a long process. And so as a head coach, there can be a lot of changes as well as a lot of highs and lows, like you said. How about this coaching staff? You still got the same success, and it's changed a little bit.
Yeah, we've changed quite a bit. Jason Shoup wanted to be a little more of a dad with Garrett playing baseball at North Dakota State. The end of our season starts that baseball season, so he was missing out on some baseball games. So Jason stepped back, went to our middle school program, and is helping us out there. Has a great knowledge of what our system is. So that's really going to help us going forward as well, is having him there back with that middle school. So we bring in Dave Harris, who had coached previously in the Mosinee district on both the boys and the girls side. So he's bringing a wealth of knowledge and Dave really focuses on defense. So every night we have Dave's defense as part of our practice plan. And we're going over different things that we're trying to improve upon each and every day. Adam Mocha was our JV coach last year. He's one of our former players at Mosinee, and with his job, he had to take a different role. So he's a volunteer assistant with us, and we have Mocha's Mayhem every day, developing skills with our guys. So for me, a little bit too is, giving up some of my reins and giving it to other guys in the program to be able to run stuff every day in practice, because they get tired of my voice. So they got to hear other people's voices. We were able to bring in our JV coach now is Tom Kazanecki, and he's from the Chicago area, has a wealth of knowledge, played collegiately, and has been a great addition to our program. He sees the game very well, breaks things down, and is really helping our JV team to really see the game differently than they have been, which is only going to help them when they come to the varsity level next year, big time. Another former player is our new JV2 coach, Trenton Wheelock. Just a wealth of knowledge there. He really loves the game. He digs into it. He breaks down a lot of film for me, gives me what he's seeing. A lot of times he's spot on exactly with what I'm seeing. So it's really helpful to see that. And then Conrad Schnell is back as our JV3 coach again this year. He absolutely loves that development and being there to help them improve each and every day. But the number one thing, as I tell all of my coaches, is I don't want a yes man. You have to disagree with me, because I need to think about things and see things different. I said, you don't have to agree with everything that you are saying, but you need to get me to think about it and give me some options, and for me to finally make a decision that might go against what I'm already thinking.
We're heading down the stretch of the regular season. You've had, as you normally have, a challenging non-conference schedule. You have a solid conference campaign. What did you learn up to this point, and what do you have to get better at? And I guess, last night was probably a great example again of the challenging non-conference schedule against an undefeated team. What did you find out last night that you can use now over the next, hopefully, about 6 weeks or so?
Yeah. One of the things last night, we've always been a very big no middle defense. We do a lot of helping. We do a lot of peel switching, which is a European concept. But last night we had to go just mano-a-mano, and that's something that we really need to work on, because we got to be able to fight through things and get out to shooters and stay there, especially when somebody's driving. A team like Seymour, the vast majority of what they do is they want to go inside out in order to collapse the defense and kick out wide open threes, which is their bread and butter. And they got a bunch of those last night. They had 14 threes overall in the game. And that's something that we got to get better at right now is understanding we got to guard our yard and just keep that player from doing what they want to do. That's one of our number one things. Offensively, sometimes we go away from what's been working. We'll score on a certain action, 3 or 4 times in a row, and then all of a sudden we just go away from it. And it's, sometimes, quit, don't stop doing what's working. And we'll stop and we'll go try something else. And then we got to get them back going on what we were doing. But we run a lot of actions. We don't run a lot of sets. So we're just trying to stack things on top of each other of different actions, just making it tough for the defense to have to guard, but also not getting into just, a set play where we're going from spot to spot to spot, which is, that takes time for players to develop and understand our language. And, but yeah, just continuing to do things like that right now, and just continuing to listen to my coaching staff and the suggestions that they have, and for me to consider, and for us overall to continue to make a great run.
So you understand, what you kind of got left in conference, how much you got to, what's coming at you down the road there. Do you have any more good non-conference games left that you got to, because it starts to go one way or the other. It goes heavy in conference. Maybe you only got 1 or 2 left, or maybe you got a handful left because you conference played up enough.
We got 2 non-conference games left. Both are really good competition. We got DC Everest with Coach Shallow coming up at home. Oh boy, that'd be the 17th of February, I believe. And then on the 21st of February, we just scheduled this week, actually, Nicolet. So we'll be heading to Nicolet to take them on before we have Rylander on the 26th.
It's an interesting way to wrap up the regular
Yeah.
season, isn't it? Is that something that you like, that you have what looks to be, and I mean, no matter what happens, it's going to be a terrific game to wrap up the regular season. But if it does continue to be where you and them are within a game or so, do you like that launching pad into the postseason?
Yeah, it's a nice way, I think, if we're both going to continue to be fighting for that conference title, which looks like we could be for a couple years coming here yet. It's a nice way to wrap things up. It's really makes the game have a whole lot more meaning, and kind of gives it that feel that we're already in that postseason.
Anything in playoffs? I obviously don't know what teams are lingering out there that are how tough. I mean, it's always tough,
Yeah.
but what's it look? What's the shakedown? Who's hanging around in there? That I can see by the look on the
Yeah.
face. I mean, you've thought about. People
Yeah.
say you got to go to the next game. We do, but coaches have to look ahead. They have to plan what's left.
Yeah, with dropping from Division II to Division III this year, when those brackets came out this summer, I believe that our program won the lottery. When you look at our closest Division III school, that's Wittenberg Burnham Wood, and they're heading east over with Freedom, but we're heading west. So a lot of good teams. Altoona's got some great guards. Stanley Boyd is up there in the rankings right now as well, that are in our part of our sectional. But yeah, it's just going to be different, being in that new division and being in a new area. It's nothing new for us to be the only team from our conference in our entire sectional. We've been that way for the last couple of years. But yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, but it's going to be a little different. I know Zaleski's got us as their number one right now in the sectional. We'll see what the state's got here. WIA's got coming out here soon, within the next week, I think. They have their kind of mid-season prediction.
Do you like that? Because I saw the girls last week, and it's interesting. But is that something that you like? Does it take a little focus? Because the kids are already going to look at it probably. And
yeah, they'll probably look at it, but even rankings right now, I haven't told them what we're ranked on and by anybody, because I'm like, that's somebody else's opinion.
It's for
we got to go out and
entertainment
play.
purposes only.
Correct. We got to go out and prove it each and every night. But yeah, they're going to look. I know they want to have the home games as well, as much as any coach does. So they're really looking for that high seed as well. And each game we go out there and we just give it our best, hoping that we can continue to get those home games in that postseason and give ourselves the best chance to make it further than a Mosinee boys basketball team has ever made it, which is only the first round of sectionals is the deepest any team has ever gone.
We got 1 minute to go, and that's kind of where I wanted to finish. How confident are you about this group? Because Mosanee's had some good teams and just have not been able to take that real deep run yet. How do you feel about this group? Because a lot of it has to do with where you do line up and who you play, but based on the guys you got in that locker room, how do you feel about this run coming up?
I can tell you that I trust them wholeheartedly in what's going on. Before last night's loss, we had 2 losses by 4 points, and I've trusted them in every bit of that, including different guys stepping up to hit or try to hit shots at different points throughout this season. I have a lot of faith and trust in them, and they seem to have a lot of faith and trust in our coaching staff.
Coach Matt Lindsay, Mosinee High School boys basketball. Again, congrats on the terrific season up to this point. Best of luck as you try to complete a conference championship season. And then, of course, best of luck in the postseason playoffs.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're going to take a timeout for the news at the top of the hour and then come back and have our student athlete guest as coming up at 7:06. Drew Wolfel from Marathon High School, senior multi-sports standout. He'll be with us coming up in just a few minutes. Big High School Sports Show, 98.9 WXCO. And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, on the Civic Media app, and also on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. I am Chad Holmes, and our special guest co-host this week, current Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach Jeff Gress. I said it for so many years, former. Now it's current. It's like
It is more gray,
a
a little more beard.
little less voice.
Yes,
But I appreciate
my own fault.
I appreciate you stopping in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
BJ sent another update from Superior. And it was a really good update because in the midway through the third period, one of his daughters just scored.
Cool. Well, good for you.
Storm 3, Superior 1. So we're keeping an eye on that. He'll be back with us next week. But right now it's time for our student athlete guest from Marathon High School, multi-sport athlete, Drew Woelfel. Drew, thank you for popping on over tonight.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
Absolutely. Make sure you get nice and close to that microphone. I'm going to ask you first about the multi-sport aspect because I mean we're going to talk a lot about the basketball season and what's going on. But not only do you play the 3 seasons, sometimes we'll get kids that come in with 3 seasons, and I think you'll know this as well. They'll play football, they'll play basketball or hockey, and then in the spring they'll play golf. Nothing against golf, but it's a thing a little less intense out there. You're in 3 sports that I think are pretty intense. You have to battle in football, you have to battle in basketball, you have to battle in baseball. How do you do it? How do you try to keep the edge? How do you try to not get burnt out on sports when you're so busy throughout the course of the year?
Well, you see, I like to get a lot of rest in between for basketball, football, especially football when you're constantly, you have early 2-day practices that you have, so you have to get as much rest as possible. And I think in the summer, we're constantly weight training and conditioning, so that kind of helps too in keeping us built up, I should say.
Right.
So yeah, the constant rest and strength and conditioning keeps us all on edge too.
That's rather mature. We all need the rest.
Yeah, that's good advice because I have no idea how to get more rest. So, Drew, one of the things I think that is always interesting to me is that balance. Like when you talked about the rest, but also how to, decide what time you're going to give to what sport. Is there you just try to always continue to develop as many as you can? Is there ones you look at like, hey, I got to improve in this? Is there ever an unbalance in that where you find yourself over focusing on one? Because I think it's hard to do when you want to be the best that you can. You want to help your team as much as you can, and you love them all, so that's why you're playing. Is there ever time you have to sit back and figure out a better way to balance it?
Well, you see, I think of it as whatever season it is, that is the sport you give your 100% time to. So if it's baseball season, I'm 100% devoted to baseball, working on my craft in baseball. If it's football, doing the same for that in basketball, so on and so on. Where we have some wrestlers that during baseball season, they go out and wrestle and they're kind of split 50-50 and they're kind of not really focused on baseball, where I try and focus as much on baseball as I can if it's baseball season. That's why
I'm going to put you on this one. I'll put you on the spot. And the coaches can't. Is there one that's your favorite? I mean, and no harm here. I mean, coaches can accept that if they like one or more than the other. Is there one that just
easy for the Newman coach to tell you that?
Well, my kids, I can tell you right now which players I have where the basketball is third in line between their other 2 sports. It's just what it is. Right. I'm happy they're playing. No. But do you have one that stands out that you're going to maybe miss the most at the end of the day, or one that is a little more enjoyable just because of the way it's played?
I have been playing basketball and baseball the longest time, so probably one of those 2. But basketball, my dad's coached basketball for a very long time, so he's always been making me play basketball. So I feel like I gotta say basketball on that one, and then probably baseball because travel ball, baseball has always been a fun time for me, and basketball I've always had fun too.
What's it like having your dad as a coach? Are you guys able to separate it at all, or is it brought back at the dinner table? What does that like?
Sometimes it is brought back at the dinner table, but that's because I try and do my best as to separate coach and dad. He's been coaching me for a very long time, so I kind of know what he wants from me and he expects from me. Sometimes he'll get on me, but that's only partially because he knows how I can play. So yeah, he's just been a very good mentor to me, and he's always on me, but it's a good thing.
How about the consistency of the coaching staff? Because as many strengths and good things as we can list for Marathon basketball, I think one of the things that's consistent is that coaching staff. I mean, you know, you have Coach Soybert at the JV level. You have Coach Jacobson has been there a while. Your dad joined in. I mean, there's just a wealth of knowledge and experience. Is it I guess, is it a prideful thing to say that's your coaching staff? You got a lot of guys that are willing to work, and you got consistency of guys that are there throughout most of your career.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a very experienced coaching staff, which is very good. I mean, they know what they're talking about. They kind of push you because they know they can get the most out of you. They're not afraid to do that at all, and they really are very experienced and well knowledged.
Let's talk about this year's team because, boy, I mean, it's been a very from the outside, it's been very consistent. It feels like you guys come out. I mean, even this week, going to Columbus is not an easy place. You went over there and you earn another W. We see different players often in scoring. One thing the Marathon always seems to do every time I'm going through and getting my stuff together, it's like at least 3 Marathon players in double digits. I mean, you all get involved and then good rebounding. How would you describe this version of the Marathon team? Is it any different than maybe the basketball teams you played on in the past?
Well, I would say this, and Coach Jay says this too, that this team is extremely unselfish.
Yeah.
You know, this team is always looking to make the extra pass no matter where it is. Unselfish, and we're competitive. So every day at practice, that competitive edge really strives us. So we have a good bench that we go against too. Jay always says that sometimes you got to look at teams and who they practice against. Who they practice against is really what makes a team. Yeah, I would say that, and probably sorry.
Well, so it sounds like metal sharpens metal, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that's
yes.
the kind of thing where if it sounds like at practice, it could be very easy to be embarrassed because you have
Yes.
good backups.
Yep. Coach Jay also prides on humility because you're going to get
You'll
gonna
lose the
get
battle once in a while, right?
Yes, absolutely. So he prides himself on that, and unselfishness, like I said, are pretty much what wraps around this team. You know, no one's afraid to. It's not about get mine or try and be the superstar. It's making for the team to win.
And well, and let's talk about a little bit more about your team this year. Obviously, we've usually seeing this seat. I don't have the personal experience where I'm coaching against you guys, so I know a feeling of what it takes that to try to beat you guys, which is not easy and hasn't been done. You know, and you played in the mirror with long enough to know that it's got to be something you guys can hang your hat on with that unblemished record right now. I mean, people come to play every given night against each other, and with the North getting stronger over the last couple of years, it's just it's a war no matter what side you're playing on with a lot of these teams. What do you think are some you've talked about the unselfishness, but maybe a couple of things. What is the best couple qualities of Marathon basketball that makes it successful year in and year out, as well as gives you guys the success this year? So in your mind, what makes Marathon basketball successful?
I would say probably the culture. You know, from what we've built off of that, everyone knows like, oh, Marathon basketball school, right? And we kind of pride ourselves off that. But also just Coach Jacobson, really doesn't matter who you have. He's going to try his best to get everything out of you. And I think everyone buys into that. No matter who you are, everyone buys into the standard. And I feel like no one just wants to let each other down.
And
Yeah,
sorry, I was jumping off the humility thing. Then anything you think you have to, as a team going down the stretch here, we got to get a little better at. We got to work on, because just to be ready for the playoffs, make that final push to hold what you want to hold in the conference, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say right now, every now and then we got to be able to handle pressure better, because you know that game against Mosinee, they ran a 1-2-1-1, I believe, press, and we didn't handle it very well at all the first half. So that's a big thing to handle. And I would say handling pressure, and probably every now and then our defense can get broken down. But other than that, I think we try and stay consistent as possible on much of our objectives, really.
Again, we're talking to Drew Woelfel, senior from Marathon High School, our student athlete guest this week on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. Let's talk about some of the guys. Who are some of the guys that you look at as leaders on the team? It could be in the locker room, it could be at practice, it could be in the games. Who are some of the guys that even yourself may lean on once in a while?
Well, I would say for sure Truthers. Truthers has been a guy in every sport too, where he's just the leader. He's the guy who speaks for the games. He's the guy who says, let's go. He tries to get everyone up on their feet, no hanging their heads. He's the guy that you look to lean on and get the team going in every sport. And also I would probably say Landon Snyder. He's a part of that too. He's a good athlete in all sports as well. He really has that just go mentality where nothing's going to stop him. He is really good at not hanging his head. He looks to the next play very well, like a bunch of other guys on our team. We also have Garrett Bracewell, who is a tremendous athlete also. He's a really good leader, knows how to keep his head up as well. A lot of these guys do. Garrett Bracewell, Sawyer Barons, Charlie Ayert, much more juniors who are experienced juniors. Like most of them played as sophomores last year. So they're very experienced. They know how to respond when times get tough. So that's always huge for a team. And then also I would say Landon Hilgart as well. Quillen Kunkel. I could pretty much name.
You're going right down the list here.
Pretty much name a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, they just work. No one's slacking off at practice. Logan Peters, all those guys, they always go 100% every day, and that's the thing. You can't really leave anyone out of that.
And correct me if I'm wrong. You played on the varsity since you were a freshman.
Yes.
So in that time, how have you seen a difference in freshman Drew versus senior Drew? What's the growth? What's the mindset that's changed a lot maybe in you over those years, or stayed consistent, whatever it might have been?
Well, as a freshman, we had Grant Warren, Drew Love, Todd Runward. So I kind of figured I wasn't expecting to do much as a freshman. I kind of tried to be a role player, get offensive rebounds, pass the ball when they're open, just kind of fit my role and be a good teammate and let the other guys do what they need to do. As a senior this year, I've been playing on the varsity level for 4 years, so I kind of had that experience, and I kind of am a part leader of this team. Me and True have been playing for a long time, so we were kind of taking that role over that Grant and Drew had, and now we're kind of looking to be the top guys to get stuff done or run the offense or do this, do that, whatever it takes.
Let's step away from the sports for a moment. What's your favorite class at school?
Favorite class? I would probably say I like biology a lot, sciences.
Do you have any idea what you're going to do next year? Are you hoping to go to college?
Yes, I am hoping to go to college, either point or lacrosse, but I haven't really decided on that yet. And I'm going to try and take these sciences and become a teacher of some sort. I haven't decided where yet, but that's my goal.
Are you hoping to continue to play sports?
That would be nice. I haven't really looked into it that much, but if I had the opportunity to, I'd probably take it.
What do you like to do to get away from it all? If you have a few moments, you're not studying, you're not in the weight room, you're not at practice or a game. If you have a moment where it's like, I just need to kind of get away from it all, what do you like to do?
I really like the outdoors, so I like hunting and fishing, just being in nature. That's kind of my big thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hunting and fishing. That can also take up a lot of time too. So yeah.
When you you've done this, you said your dad coached you when you were young. You've been playing a lot of sports for a very long time, whether it's through the youth ranks into high school, starting playing as a freshman a lot of times. Seen a lot of sports. And you're on the tail end of it for your high school career. What will you miss the most once it's all said and done, when the baseball season ends in the spring?
I would say in every sport, being with the team. Sometimes the most fun times of the season are just the bus ride back from games. If after a big win, those are always extremely fun, or after practice, or constantly on the field with the team, cracking jokes, stuff like that. It's just fun being around these guys for 4 years.
Has there been a highlight on the field of play in any of these sports that you kind of say, boy, that was a moment that I really like to go back to? Because you've had a lot of great experiences here, because you've had a lot of success. Your baseball seasons always seem to go pretty long. Basketball seems to go pretty long. Any highlights up to this point?
I would say basketball was definitely probably winning that sectional final at Everest as a sophomore going to state. Feeling the surrealness of being in that sectional final in a packed gym was just awesome. And being able to go on to state and play at the Kohl Center, that was extremely fun, especially as a sophomore. And then I would say baseball was baseball, I would say playing in a sectional final as a freshman against St. Croix Falls, that was still an awesome environment to play in the regional final last year versus Stratford, where people Stratford beat us twice in regular season.
Right.
So people were kind of feeling down, and then going out and winning that 5-0 and a shutout was an awesome time for me.
Sure.
Do you have, with all the sports you play again, do you have a favorite team, whether it's in a specific sport or just overall throughout all the teams you've seen, the conferences, plus when in the youth level you grew up playing against these same guys? Is there a favorite team you really get into against that's a good rivalry for you guys or for you personally that you're like, we're not going to let them have it? We got to have that team. We got to have that team because that's the team I always strive to beat or we always strive to get after.
Yeah. Two big rivals is always either Auburndale or Edgar. I mean, Edgar's been extremely long rival, extremely competitive rival. And every time we play them, we just got to know this got to be our A game. Same with Auburndale. I mean, Auburndale or Edgar, you always eventually will see in playoffs.
Yeah, it always seems like Marathon and Auburndale play 3 times every year in all these sports.
Yep. pretty much. I'm pretty sure every year I've played basketball, it's always been Auburndale in sectionals or regionals. So,
and I know it's set up ahead of time, and it always is what it is with those teams being in the, you're with your population, your divisions, all that type of stuff. Do you ever look and sometimes think, because you get your wars within the conference? And I know some of the other coaches say, it'd be nice to get away from each other for once. And did you ever have that same feeling where it'd be nice to go to a different part of the state or play a couple different teams outside during the playoffs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing I feel like it'd be cool to be in kind of Bonduel's area because they have Bonduel, Iola, Wittenberg. Just feel like playing over there would be fun too.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Drew before our final question?
No, I just again, obviously respect that your program and your guys play a ton. It's just it's something to be said that you can stay consistent like that in the top of the conference and good things are happening. So wishing you well the rest of the season.
And I know he's glad you don't have to see them again, right? You're glad you don't have to be playing Marathon.
We're okay staying. Yeah, we're okay. We got our couple of games in. Not that we would never accept the challenge, but it's sometimes easier when those games are finished. They did very well against us.
Based on your experience, and you've had a lot of experience, as you said, being a freshman who's participated in varsity athletics, 3 sports, and that was a senior. Based on your experiences, what do you give as a piece of advice to a freshman just starting their journey based on what you've learned? Maybe something to think about for them as they begin their hopefully 4 years of success at Marathon.
I would say it goes fast. So enjoy every moment you can of it, and it'll be gone just like that. So every chance you get, you take.
Drew Woelfel, yeah, congrats on a lot of success in many sports over at Marathon. You must have a lot of letters.
Yeah.
Fill that jacket up, right?
Yeah, I'll sure try.
But congrats on all the success and best of luck rest of your basketball season, of course, in the baseball season as well.
Thank you very much.
Drew Woelfel, our student athlete guest this week from Marathon High School. We're going to take a time out and talk about what's been going on in high school basketball. Maybe get Gress to say something that you shouldn't be saying as a coach now. Not a
no, I'm wrong. I'm toting the line, man. This is a different responsibility for me, so I'm not going to do that.
I know you're good. You're good. But we're going to take a time out and come back with more Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.
What's your idea of winter fun? It's hitting the trails after a fresh snowfall and you're thinking new snowmobile. It's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. If you're thinking new four-wheel drive vehicle to get you to the downhill slopes or the cross-country trails, it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. Quick, easy loan applications, friendly lenders, and great rates make CCU the lending leader in financing fun. If your idea of winter fun isn't in the snow, maybe hitting the highway in a new motorhome is the way to go. Just give CCU a call. Financing for motorhomes and winter getaways. When you think fun, think Clover Belt Credit Union. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Call CCU for your great rate financing. Dial 715-842-5693 or apply online or from your smartphone. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show, 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and tonight as well on YouTube, youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Well, you got your interview skills back. I mean, usually now the guy just gets asked the questions, and now you got a chance to answer a few questions as well.
Yeah, no, it's enjoyable. Again, whether I have been sitting in the seat or I get to be a listener at home, the best part about this show is getting the picture from the coaches and the players. I mean, you can't go wrong, and anybody that listens and has been involved in this knows that's at the true heart of this. It's not necessarily all the regurgitation of the statistics and standings. It's the picture that paints of the value of high school sports in the moment with those players, coaches, and teams. So I think that's a big deal, and I'm exceptionally proud that I get to be a part of that in the past, and also right now. This is cool. So,
well, it is. It's great to have you back.
An update?
Yeah, the Storm win 3-1, so that's very good. So Storm 3, Superior 1, that is a big win because, again, as I mentioned, and this is a fun time of the year. Before we get into the basketball, these next 3 weeks, I always love it because you wake up on Sunday, you start refreshing because you want to see those brackets.
Right.
And I know that it's a wonderful time of the year, isn't it?
It is, because you want to, everybody wants to know where they stand. Everybody wants to know if they held on to the spot they thought they had. Were they able to advance? Is there some surprises? What's going on? So it's a good time of year with a lot of sports going on to see who's going to make surprises, who's going to actually do what they're supposed to do. Is there going to be consistency? And there's just that element of unknown in the playoffs that can come up that makes the season exciting.
Absolutely. Hey, let's talk some boys basketball. Let's get you outside your Newman bubble for a few minutes here. No, I know.
I'm there.
You keep an eye on things from time to time.
I do.
But let's talk about the Wisconsin Valley Conference. You got Marshfield in first place. They're 15-2 overall, 5-0 in the conference. You got Spash and Everest, both 4-1 in the conference. Evergreens are 14-2 overall. Stevens Point is 12-5 overall. Then you have Wausau East 2-3 in the conference, 4-11 overall. Wausau West 1-5 in conference, 8-9 overall. Rapids 0-6 in league, 3-13 overall. And I had a chance to see Everest last week. They played West on Thursday night. And West, I thought, played really well that night. It was one of those games where Everest would take a little lead, West would come back. West would not go away. And in the end, it was 70-52. It was one of those games where at the end they pulled away. It was a much closer game throughout. It was actually a really interesting game where the first half it was 35-26 at halftime. The score in the second half was 35-26. So it ended up 70-52. And I thought, hey, I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
But Vander Truax 16, Kate Felch and Xavier Edwards 15 for Everest. Jackson Riley had 19 for Wausau West. But I have to say that Everest team, that was like an evergreen team that has not lost in a long time. And every one of these wins has been double digits. It's been really impressive. They got a lot of talent. They got a lot of, I think, good physical skills. Vander Truax is a big kid. He can work down low. They got a good mix. It's a very scary team, I think, for opponents going down the stretch.
All right. When you're that balanced, I mean, I saw a handful of them when we were doing the Optimist tournament this weekend and running the youth stuff. Some of them came and watched some of the youth players, and they were standing in our gym, and they just got the basketball size and the frames, and you can just tell that those guys can carry forth those natural attributes that they have into their skill set onto the court. And that's what I've heard. I haven't seen Everest play, but just from talking to other Valley coaches or people in the area that they're just balanced. And when you got the Coach Lindsay talked about it, and Drew didn't say it exactly that way, but describing people being unselfish and knowing their roles. When those roles are defined, like, yeah, you're our defensive guy. You're our guy that's going to clean the glass. You're the guys that when we need a bucket's going to get it this way. The better off teams know that and balance each other off that. That makes you a stronger team. And then the closer it is to being towards perfection of understanding each other's roles as you get to the end of the season, you're going to do some damage in the playoffs. And definitely seeing on paper and seeing what Everest's been able to accomplish so far, they have a very balanced team.
And Marshfield is a team that I've seen a couple of times, both in person and also on video. They are 15-2, 5-0. There were two games this week. They beat Rapid 68-37 on Friday. Chris Pohl had 30. Then last night they beat Holman 88-53. Pohl had 32. And the thing that jumps out about Marshfield is it's very rare for a high school team where it looks like they have that ability to turn it on, that they can almost cruise for a little while, and then it's like, oh, we're heading out. And it's a different team than it was last year, and that's the thing that's so impressive. They've had different strengths the last couple of years, and yet they just still find ways to win.
Well, and when you're getting consistency where you got a guy that you can go to for a necessary basket, we scoring 30 plus, that's the big deal. But they got they got Ramberg, the biggest, I don't know their person.
McTaggart.
Yeah.
Good names in the.
We don't always know based on, it goes from year to year. You got your rotations and kids graduate and they lost the solid guards and Lee and Hinson that they had, and just a graduation. And there's guys waiting in the wings, or they're guys that were maybe your 6th and 7th player or 8th, 9th guy off the bench that are willing to take that step forward and work hard enough in the offseason to take on that role. And the good teams find guys that fill those roles, and then they work hard enough to, like Drew talked about, to you're not going to let your teammates down in any way. That's a big deal. You fill and make sure that what needs to happen in skill sets and team play go forward. So for Marshfield, still the same consistency, still being at top of that conference, but a little bit different look, like you said, where maybe the guys that are doing the punching is more coming from the down low end with role players filling in on the top.
And I think sometimes that Chris Fisher doesn't get the credit he deserves, because again, some years it's been an inside first team, other years it's been an outside first team, and yet the consistency to win in that conference all the time. They're not the biggest school in that conference. They just find ways as well. They came so close to taking it all last year, and then to come back with a different strength, I think this year, I just am very, very impressed.
Yeah, and as a coach, as much the players are running things and executing things, the coach has to keep all that organized for them. He has to, whether it's getting guys to get along and understanding what they have to do, whether it's getting guys to execute those various strategies. So Coach Fisher does a great job, and it's evident that last year you can be a state runner-up, lose a little bit to graduation, get some of those guys back, and still stay atop of that conference. That's a good job overall in that program.
Stevens Point is still a little bit of an enigma to me because, I mean, there have been games like the game against East. East has struggled a bit, but it was still an 84-29 win on Thursday. Sivan Dinga 16, Sam Kornowski 14. Then they go on the road and lose to a decent Wanakee team, but not a superstar Wanakee team on Monday, 54-46. So again, I think Stevens Point's got some potential, but they have not been as consistent as either Marshfield or Everest so far this year.
No, a little bit different. They lost. Sean Na was one of their main scorers.
You're
The
right.
attack is, well, it's a little more balanced. So you got 13, 12, and 11 for their top three scorers from the statistics for the Valley. And so, yeah, I guess just judging what you're sharing a little bit from that scheduling is exactly the identity of what they are. Because they're always going to play you tough. I think there's still going to be a headhunter in the Valley that teams are going to look out for. But the tougher games sometimes come outside that in that first couple rounds of playoffs. So.
After a bit of a struggle, Wausau West has now won 3 of the last 4, and I thought that the best I've seen them play this year was against Everest. They really battled over there, and then they came back on Friday and beat Ashland 63-46, and then as well on Monday night they won their first conference game 53-50 against Wisconsin Rapids. And again, it's a young basketball team, and I've had a chance to see them a number of times, and it's a team that lost the kid that they were expecting to be their leader in Karji Cooper. He was supposed to be perhaps even the player of the year in the conference. He's that good. He's a very talented young man, a great person to sort of hang your hat on, and he's had a foot issue for a number of weeks now. And I think when they were having some trouble consistently finding the offense, but Jackson Riley's looked like he's getting a little bit more aggressive. Matthew Hyman's a young player who's had hot and cold streaks with his shooting. When he's shooting well, they're a much tougher team, and they always come out there and they play the tough defense. And I think that they were kind of teetering there for a little bit, and now the win 3 of 4, I think a good week for Wausau West.
Yeah, well, those wins. As you're younger, those younger players got to learn how to win a little bit more. Once they come up to the varsity level, even if they've won at the lower levels, it's still figuring out with a different size and speed, excuse me, of how you got to keep up with that stuff. And for, with Coach Lemons, they're always going to show that stifling kind of stingy defense and keep them in games. And they've done that. And those wins are only going to breed confidence. And I think for any team, including West, I was fortunate enough to go to the East-West game earlier in the year, and that was the first time I saw that Karji Cooper was out. And those when you have your best player not being able to be out there, that brings so many different, whether you just get you a basket when it's needed, whether it's the locker room banter that keeps in check, it switches everybody's roles. And sometimes people want to see instant results, and it takes some time because other kids have to fill those roles. They have to step up. They have to play under different situations and circumstances that wasn't what it was while he was out there on the floor with them. And it takes a little time to learn how to be that different team. So I think that's that they've found that consistency. It's a credit to them and their coaches, and it's good for a program.
And Wausau East, and again, we knew coming into the season they lost so much incredible talent that took them to the state tournament, and they off to a bit of a slow start against a very tough non-conference schedule. But they've had a few ups recently. That win against West was a big one. They had a win against Rapids in the conference. In fact, they look at the conference standings; they're ahead of West and Rapids, and that the overall record is probably not what Dan Garrett would like. But again, you got Robbie and Julie with 21, Xander Klein 20 in that win against Antigo. The year after, that's not an easy year, is it? The year after, you lose so many talented seniors, so much production. Yes, so a lot of these kids were there, but now they're being put right into the spotlight very quickly.
Yeah, and it's a quick transition, and there's bumps along the road and highs and lows and inconsistencies. But looking at their they got the win against handily, win against Antigo. They played a couple of the tougher teams that are closer to their size divisionally with Rhinelander and Northland Pines. They played them tough. And we saw what Pines was worth earlier in the year. I mean, to East lost by 7, which means you played them tough. And Rhinelander, we know how good they are in the Great Northern. So I think things that are still transitioning, because you do have some kids on that team that can put the ball in the basket. Definitely Robbie can fill it up. I watched him do it that night against West. So things that you just keep building on. Still time. There's a month left of still time to try to get to where you want your team to peak if you haven't felt they're there yet.
I've been complaining to BJ for a number of weeks now about the fact that we just don't have enough conference games. It's not the old Friday, Tuesday pattern anymore in the Valley, because, again, they lost Merrill this year. But this week you got the Friday, Tuesday. And for DC Everest, it's going to be a massive week. They got Friday night hosting Marshfield, and Tuesday night they go to Stevens Point. That game at Everest on Friday night, I think, is one of the big games of the week, no matter what sport it is.
Well, right. And you got 5-0 versus 4-1. I mean, they're coming in trying to accomplish different things. One's trying to create a little space. So if Marshfield can win, that's a big deal. Obviously, Everest is just trying to keep pace to tie that thing up and keep a run at the Valley Conference title. So I think a huge game. It's always one of those ones that ahead of time on paper, and when you get to witness it live, it's going to be a fun one, just based on how those teams have played already throughout this season.
Merriwood South and boys hoops got Marathon 15-1, 11-0 in the conference. I mean, I think they've clinched it, because 5 and 6 is second for Auburndale, 8-10 overall. Edgar 6-10, 4-6. Assumption 7-8, 4-6. Newman Catholic 7-11, 4-7. Stratford 7-10, 3-7. Let me ask you real quickly about Stratford. They got off to a really slow start. They're playing better basketball since then. New coach this year. What's your take on Stratford?
Well, Stratford's got a lot of physicality and athleticism. And for people that haven't watched him closely, Brooks Vanderhoff has been out from some football stuff he had earlier in the season, has recently come back, which makes a difference for their team. He's a guy that, again, you talk about that on-floor leader, kid that can put the ball in the basket, that was relied on and got some minutes. So last year was an all-conference player in that. And now you got him back. So that's definitely helping add to some of these win totals, I think, by having him out on the floor, because, again, it takes pressure off everybody else and adds to part of your game. So, when we get them the second time around, obviously looking at a little bit more dangerous team, and a team that we're going to have to play a little tougher against than we did the first time around. Even though we didn't come out with the wins, we're going to have to pick it up a little bit more. But I think they're definitely playing some better basketball.
And there's been a lot of close games. I mean, you can look at your team, but the other teams in this battle between second and sixth, I've seen a lot of 3-point games, 5-point games, 2-point games. That must have made that win at Auburndale so much more important, because you lost a game in the final possession against Assumption right previous to that. You've had some close games, and there's been not just involving your team. I mean, there's an Auburndale Edgar game that was a 39-36 game, I think, just recently. It's really tight in this group, isn't it?
Yeah, and so, there's Marathon out ahead, and we, as coaches, sometimes kind of joke, they're out there, and then we're all fighting for what's left. And it is. That's what it is right now with the records. I think that it's tough. Any given night with that in that area, and even with the North, there's anybody beating anybody. And some of the, even Auburndale with Prentice's lead out there in the North, Auburndale took Prentice to 2 over at their place. So it's just teams are resilient and looking to fight, and it's that same mentality it's always been. You're not going to get a night off. You're not going to get a gimme. I've even seen teams where you've walked into some of these games and they're missing players due to sickness or injury, or somebody got hurt in practice, whatever it might be. And it's still a war. It doesn't change it. The certain players will look at, oh yeah, this guy's out. Well, it ain't going to matter, because they're still coming at you. So I just think it's the nature of that conference that it's so tough night in and night out. And that's why you have a lot of those tight games. Coaches know each other. They know the style of play. As we've talked about before, these kids grew up playing against each other, and you wouldn't want it any different way. I think going in and saying, okay, we can maybe win this by 20. I'd rather go in and say, this is going to be a tight one. We're going to have to play. It's just more, it's maybe a little more stressful, but it's at the end of the day, it's more fun. And I think, like, for us as a Division 5 school, it makes us tougher when we get to the playoffs, that we've had a war with a lot of these bigger schools and fight through, and whether we've played a lot of different ways so far, losing tight ones and winning tight ones.
Well, I probably shouldn't even bring this up, but obviously the way that the last minute win against Assumption, you hated to go through it, but man, you have now been there. I mean, you were in that situation. You're probably going to be in that situation again, either in the regular season or in the playoffs, where hey, it didn't go exactly the way you wanted to in that game, but you have these opportunities. Again, you played a game where you had to make free throws and take care of the basketball on the road in a hostile environment on Friday night. I mean, talk about even the game up in Crandon. I mean, you had to face a hostile environment late. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes a team ready for the playoffs. And we see the other teams that cruise through a regular season and never have to go through a situation like that. The first time it happens, holy cow, it can be very difficult.
Well, you learn things about it. I'll give you the perfect example. We were fortunate enough to pull the win out against Edgar. They got up by 11. We came back. We won it by 1. And at that point, I was able to create a couple plays on the bench that our guys could run on the fly that helped us get some looks. I tried the same thing in Assumption with a couple of plays like that way, and we didn't get the looks. So the next day in practice, what are you figuring out? We're running into the game situations, sideline inbounds, a specific play, how we want to attack a certain angle off our offense. It's just all learning in that, and you can even get confidence that one thing works and one thing doesn't. So I think being battle tested in all those other situations is really going to help you down the stretch.
Who's got the toughest crossover Friday?
Well, I gotta look. What are some of the other? I mean, we don't have it easy with Prentice.
I was going to say
maybe
maybe
challenge.
you could
But-
say you.
but we're yeah. Well, I'd say we're definitely in the running.
I would say,
but to give our kids credit, they're always up for any challenge that we get. We're looking to go up there and be the underdog and play them tough and give them the game that we think we can get and come out ahead.
The reason I bring it up is because all those years we talk, I mean, you can't, the idea is you can't lose that game or else you're going to lose a game to everybody.
Right.
But now it's a little different because other teams are going to have challenges as well. But I'm sure the mentality is still there. You don't want to give up a game in one of these crossovers.
No, you're trying not to. But it's gotten a lot more tougher because the North has gotten that much better over the last couple of years. And I've tried to think, does Rib Lake have Assumption? What does Rib Lake have?
They have Stratford.
Yeah, so that's going to be a challenge. Rib Lake's not an easy team, and you never know. But I'm appreciative though that these games should count. They just mean more. When the first time around they weren't doing that.
No,
I don't think that was right. They need to count.
And by the way, did you see the Northeast Wisconsin homeschool beat Auburndale last night?
Coach Whiteford and I were talking about that team. That
I
was
impressed. I was impressed when you guys played them.
Yeah,
they have some big kids.
They have some talented ball players, and they're a challenge. They're a little bit different than the regular teams you face in terms of how they run their overall program. So gives you a little bit different look. And I Coach Weinfurter knew that would be. He said that was going to be a challenging game.
Great Northern Conference on the boys. Mosinee 14-3, 9-0. Rhinelander 15-2, 8-1. Medford 5-4, 5-4 Merrill, 5-4 Pines. 3 really solid programs. Lakeland 2-7 in the conference. Anago 1-8. Tomahawk 0-8. Rhinelander's been outstanding this year, and for Mosinee to go up there and beat them a couple weeks back was impressive. Merrill taking Mosinee to overtime twice and they're starting to play better basketball recently as well. Just even this past week, they had the game against Mosinee Friday. They lost in OT. Then they beat Pines on Monday, which I shouldn't be surprised, but I mean, the whole Pines to 40 points in that game. I thought that was an outstanding defensive effort for Merrill. And again, I think that conference really did add a lot to have Merrill in there.
Right. I think Merrill brings another element of that. And they've been playing each other so long in the non-conference games when they're part of the Valley. Yeah. So I think it really, it adds a whole another good program into that conference. And I think you're right. They've been playing better. To get a win against Pines is a big deal. Again, from what I saw in the beginning of the year, how good and balanced I thought Pines was. And then what you got in Rhinelander and Mosinee up top. We talked quite a bit about that with Coach Lindsay, but you also have a very young Medford team hanging around there at 5-4. And everybody tells me there's a handful of sophomores and they're young. So I think that top echelon of the conference is really tough. And if Coach Lindsay and his team can hold on to that lead for the rest of the season, there's something to be said, because that's a war, and none of those games are easy. And I think it is cool, as nerve-wracking, as stressful as it can be, that it could come down to that last game between Mosinee and Rhinelander for that conference title at the end. It's cool. That's something to play for at that point.
And that's always and I think having that game to play for, because one thing you don't have to play for at that point is seeding.
Right.
because it's after the seeding. So it's like that's always that little odd aspect to it where, you have these couple of games usually at the very end that don't affect seeding. And sometimes it turns into one of those games that probably would affect it in a significant way.
Right. And I think for Mosinee can you get to play that game at the end of the year, you get that W that can really propel, keep things even rolling a little bit better and a little bit faster into playoffs the way you want it to. So again, some great battles in there. And this is what else you like to see is teams kind of coming into their own as the season rolled down. Who's playing that way, the way they should be getting ready for the playoff run. And because you have your teams that start off strong and stay consistent and they're finishing strong. And then you got the ones like it takes a little bit of time to gel based on whatever circumstances. And then you have some of your surprise ones. So I think that playing out at the end of the season is all a big deal.
Wisconsin Valley Conference on the girls' side, Stevens Point far and away. This has been a one-team race pretty much all season long. Spash 7-0, 15-3 overall. Everest has actually been a little surprising this year. They've been able to win the games they need to win, and they're now in second place at 5-2, 10-9 overall. Rapids 10-9, 4-3. Marshfield 6-13, 3-3. West 6-14, 1-6. Wausau East 5-12, 0-6. But I'm going to say something about West and East. Number one for Wausau East, they have won back-to-back games the last two nights, which we have not seen very often. They had a 20-point comeback, I think, against Newman Catholic on Monday night, and beat the Cards 65-62. And then on Tuesday, last night, they came back and beat Pines 51-47. So, again, that's a program that we were wondering if they're going to be able to even play varsity basketball. And I had one of the young ladies on very early in the season, and it was one of my favorite interviews all year. It was because she just had the right attitude. She has been involved in multiple sports, softball and basketball and other sports, and has not had a lot of success, but talked about the competition, talked about the connections with her teammates. And I just love the fact that East is starting to build a little something here late in the season.
Well, yeah, and credit to them. And then the other flip side of East, if you watch them play or know they're young. I mean, so they're doing some of this.
They've had multiple freshmen in that starting lineup all year.
And I think, again, the more situations your team can be tested in throughout a season is only going to bode well down the stretch. And you might hit a buzzsaw where it's just too much of a discrepancy in ability levels or how teams play. But I think if you can be in a lot of situations, you feel good about entering the playoffs as the team you are at that point, it's only going to help you. So for East to have a couple comeback wins, to get that success, especially as a younger team, that should only help propel you in some of the games you can get.
And last night, West beat Eau Claire North on the road 58-53. And that's significant because they put out last week the WIAA, the first projections. And this would have been is projected as perhaps a matchup in the play-in game. Instead of having to go to Eau Claire, this probably puts Wausau West in a position to host instead. So again, it is significant. And I think they knew it going into this game. And that's one of those things about those projections. You say, well, I mean, we're right behind them here. A chance to jump them with a win.
Right. And as a coach, that's the stuff you're going to talk about. That's stuff you're going to use in practice because I think the kids need to know what's at stake. It might help them fight a little harder through maybe through some foul trouble throughout the game. It might help them fight a little harder if they aren't knocking down the shots, maybe to stay in tune a little bit more on their offense. I think it helps to know what the games are. Today at our practice, we talked about some of the conference standings, and we talked about right now where we would roughly stand as in the playoff bracket,
right?
And how important these things are, as much as we're also talking about just playing our game and playing consistently. So I think when those things are named and things are going, those games mean something.
And one other thing, and I know that over the years we talked about Jada Seibert over at Stevens Point. Did you see that she's going to Iowa?
Yes, I heard she was either, I don't know, wasn't she a Channel 9 athlete of the week or something like that recently, and or a little bit, and they talked about it.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is, well, to get that offer and kind of, some of these players when they come in share that they have aspirations to play at a higher level, and some don't know, and some just want to get that process over because they know they can, but they want to know where their home's going to be. So I'm always interested though how that affects a player that figures out that pathway earlier as a junior versus does that just take all the pressure off? Or does it make you worry more? Like, don't want to get injured, don't want to lose this, don't want to, where's your focus level go, I guess is the part in question on that.
And then Merowith South girls basketball, and boy, it's quite a battle at the top. You got Stratford 16-2, 10-1. Marathon 17-2, 10-2. They've had an incredible turnaround this year. Assumption 12-7, 9-2. Auburndale 12-8, 8-4. Edgar 7-11, 4-7. Newman 5-13, 2-8. But we had Jeff Schneider on a few weeks ago.
Yep, I listened.
Was that? I mean, you love to see it for a guy who's been doing it for a couple of decades. He's gone through the ups, he's gone through the downs, and he has gone with this group for the last number of years. And you've been in this situation where you have to grow with your team.
Right.
And you see them flourish like this, I think it's just outstanding.
Oh yeah, he's got to enjoying it with the, and the flip side of that is, you have which is never easy. He has his daughter on the team, but you get to coach your kid, you get to be around your kid's friends. And so you have obviously a good rapport there, and it makes a difference in those games. And he's come in and talked about the highs and lows at times too, when they weren't winning or they weren't accomplishing what he had felt they could. So I think it's a testament to staying to the system, staying true to your players, maybe adjusting even a little bit, and figuring out. But props to them at 17-2 and atop that conference with 10 wins.
And last night, Marathon went to Columbus Catholic and beat them 54-46. Columbus number 6 in Division 5, 15-4 overall. Big win on the road. Again, Marathon they've been consistent, and that's something that as a coach you must love to see.
All right. Yeah. If you're firing on all cylinders where players are understanding their roles, offensive and defensive execution is coming the way it should. I think it's when you can pick up those tough non-conference wins against good opponents, it's only going to get you more playoff ready. So Coach Schneider obviously has to be very happy with that win, and obviously his team's playing right now.
And Stratford last night beat Bonduel 46-43. Bonduel is number 8 in D4, Stratford number 10. So another win for that. It shows, again, when you win outside the conference, that the great records are not just a factor of whether you're doing it in the conference. You're winning some very significant non-conference games as well.
Well, right. And I was one of our guys that's one of the salesmen that comes into school. His daughter's a starter on the Stratford team. And he was talking about this big game against Bonduel. They're good. We're going to have our hands full. And so was that at Stratford or in Bonduel?
It was at Stratford.
Okay. So nice to get them on your own home floor. But I think a true testament to what you're saying is that these teams aren't good just within their conference, and their records and their wins aren't showing up just within their conference. There's beating tough opponents, ranked opponents, teams that are high in their conference and going to be higher seeds in their divisions that they're knocking off. So Stratford, a balanced team. I was able to watch them play at Newman between the guard play and the bigs that they had. They're a true testament to their record and getting wins outside the conference.
And real quickly, the top of the Great Northern Conference, Mosinee 10-0 conference, Medford 8-1. Those teams will meet in Mosinee on Friday night. Really, the only two teams with a chance to win that conference championship, and that should be a fun one in Mosinee on Friday.
Definitely. Well, you got to have you have Mosinee hanging around with that undefeated record and just continue to do good things with the players that have been even and flourishing despite some of the injuries they've had this year too, which is again that whenever you can have that mentality of next person up and it works and it succeeds, that's a big deal to those players and the teams and the coaches that have that rolling yet, because it's not easy when you lose some of your key components to keep the ball rolling at such a high level.
Time goes by so quickly, doesn't it?
It does. Another here and gone.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
I appreciate you having me. It feels good to be back here.
Jeff Gress, thank you. Ian Welsh as well on the other side of the glass. Thanks to our guests, Matt Lindsay from Mosinee, the head boys basketball coach, and Drew Wolfel, the Marathon senior as well. So again, thanks a lot for joining us for the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO.